Hey, what's up everybody? This is Mirror Image. Right now I'm just chilling on the beach of South Sun Cove. Probably the coolest scenery in the game, actually. But besides that, today I'm going to be sharing a new build with you, specifically geared towards fractals. It can also be used for a variety of dungeons, most notably Ascalon Catacombs because of the amount of reflex needed when you fight the first boss. I've also had a bit of luck with it in World vs. World duels. In 1v1 cases, this build is really good for controlling your opponent and also for keeping your survivability up. I'll probably go into the World vs. World aspect of the build in another video, and today I'm going to be focusing on how you can use this for fractals. It's pretty much vital to trait your focus to use reflex once you get up past 30. I'd recommend just start off using the reflect build almost immediately. So this build is really useful. It basically takes some of the pressure off your guardian to have wall of reflection up, and it doesn't even require to have more than one. I know a lot of people think that you need at least 2 guardians in a party, but if you have a couple of good Mesmers who are traded as such that I'll be showing you in this video, you can easily get by, you know, the level 42 fractals when you get the harpies, and I'll show you how the reflection stuff works and also how the gear and the traits are set up for this build. So first of all, the build setup that I have, gear-wise, I have power, toughness, and vitality. The reason for this being over knight's gear is because there are a lot of conditions in fractals, most notably the flame shaman. Those burn conditions can just melt your health away if you don't have a lot of vitality. Also, let's say you're in World vs. World. There's a lot of conditions, and if you don't have good condition removal, and as you see in my utilities, I really only have one method, and I can only use it every 36 seconds. So having the extra vitality is going to be useful outside of just the fractals. As you can see, I have superior runes of the earth. Those give me extra toughness as well as extra protection duration, which is pretty important for this build. If you've seen my bunker build, you'll probably know why, but I'll explain it in a minute. And then of course you get magnetic aura, which is 5 seconds of reflex. That's really useful because this is a reflect build, first of all, but also let's say you're in a World vs. World situation and you're running away and your health goes below 20%. You don't have the cooldown on blink, so you can't get away, or your temporal curtain is down. This will give you 5 extra seconds, which will hopefully be enough time to reflect incoming projectiles to keep you alive until those cooldowns are done, and you can go ahead and get your curtain up, get some swiftness, or use your blink to get away. So that's the reason I like magnetic aura. So anyways, power, toughness, vitality on all your armor, but on all of your weapons you want full berserkers. And I'm going to show you how you can use the greatsword if you prefer, but I would really recommend to start using the staff. You provide so much more support. And when I go with my guildies, they kind of know what I'm running, so they know how to use all the ethereal combo fields to get chaos armor and stuff like that. But let's say they don't, and you're in a party and people are just, you know, sometimes people can be a little mindless. Having the staff will allow you to provide them support, and if somebody goes down, you can just, you know, toss a chaos storm on them and pick up that Aegis and go ahead and get that res without taking very much damage. As far as the sigil goes, I have superior sigil of air. The staff does have pretty pathetic auto attack damage, so having the lightning strike just sort of supplements that just a little bit. And then for my second weapon set, I have sword and focus. You absolutely need the focus, and I'd recommend having the sword because it is, in my opinion, the best main hand weapon that the Mesmer has. You get an immobilize, you get a combo finisher, you get invulnerability. And the way I have my sword traded, I actually get to use Blurred Frenzy every 8 seconds. So you get a whole lot of uptime of invulnerability. The one downside of this build, if you don't have Ascended Gear, you're not going to be doing as much damage. So I'd recommend getting Ascended Gear as quickly as you can. The rings are really easy to acquire because they're just drops in fractals, and if you've done it enough, you probably have more than enough rings. Getting the amulets and the other trinkets like the earrings can be a little bit more problematic, but you'll get them eventually, I promise. But basically I have full berserkers for these, so that, as you can see up here, my crit chance isn't too poor, it's 45%, and then of course the crit damage is at 74%. So you get a decent mixture of crit damage and survivability. So you can survive, and you can also put out a decent amount of damage. but the main focus of the build is the reflex. So that's going to be something that we look about in the traits. First of all, 20 in dueling. A very standard setup for pretty much any build. The 20 points in dueling, I have blade training as the first skill. Now you can swap this out for, let's say, deceptive evasion. If you are doing world versus world, you want deceptive evasion. The reason I don't have it all the time in my fractal runs is because sometimes it's really annoying when you just are trying to dodge roll and you summon a clone and you don't want him there. It'll keep you in combat, etc. So there will be cases where I do switch to deceptive evasion, but a lot of time I like blade training because you get the extra precision with your sword and also the lower cooldowns, meaning you can use blurred frenzy more often, 8 seconds as opposed to 10. I also like to have phantasmal fury because you aren't doing a lot of damage with your weapon, your staff. Your sword does pretty good damage, but your staff does not. Your phantasms need to be doing a bulk of the damage, so having fury on them will make it so that they are critting more often and thereby providing more damage. By the way, something I need to mention, the staff in this build isn't really used like a ranged weapon. You want to stay really close because they changed how Winds of Chaos functions. It can now give fury and might to your clones. And when it's on you, it actually applies to all of your phantasms. So let's say you have 3 warlocks out. They will all have the might and the fury that you have on you. If it goes to your clone, they get that fury and basically they'll cause a bleed. But this is not a condition build, so you won't benefit if your clone is getting the fury and the might. So you want to stand closer to your target than your clones are. Anyways, back to the build, 20 points in Chaos. Master of Manipulation is the first one that I have. Basically, that lowers the cooldown on Blink from, I think it's 30 seconds to 24. Yep. The reason for this is Blink is my only stun breaker. It also gives me a little bit more mobility, but since it is the only stun breaker that I have in this build, the lower cooldown is really helpful. And then the second trait that I have is Chaotic Dampening. Very important for the lower cooldowns and of course the extra toughness that you get, so that way you can continue to stay in melee range longer. Really love the lower cooldowns for the Chaos Storm. That's basically your res your partner move. You want to put this on your allies and occasionally on your phantasms. Let's say you have 3 warlocks up. You want to put that on those warlocks to give them the Aegis and the retaliation. So basically, if they get attacked, they're doing damage even if they die, and hopefully you can keep them alive with the Aegis. In Inspiration, I have Glamour Mastery. As you can see in my utilities, I have 2 Glamours, Feedback and Null Field. The cooldowns on them with this skill are pretty respectable, 36 seconds and 32, which isn't bad at all. Now, aside from doing their normal ability, I guess, with their normal function, for example, feedback, reflecting projectiles, it's also an ethereal combo field. So you want to be using the staff number 2 and the swap on sword 3 to be getting chaos armor constantly. Basically, if you use this right, you can get chaos armor with, of course, chaos armor. You can also get it by using phase retreat or the sword skill number 3 swap. Through Chaos Storm, which is also an ethereal combo field, and then of course these other 2. So you have 4 ways to get constant chaos armor. You can also use Time Warp, but of course the 210 second cooldown that's not why you want to cast it, obviously. But basically you can keep chaos armor on you at all times, meaning you'll have protection, regeneration, and swiftness, all super useful. Besides the Glamour Mastery skill, you want to have Warden's Feedback, the most crucial trait in this build. If you're going to change the build around, at least have the 20 points in Inspiration when you're doing fractals. The reason being is lower cooldown, so basically you will have swiftness for all but about 5 seconds if you use the temporal curtain, and then your focus skills reflect projectiles. And I'll be showing you how to use the Warden and the temporal curtain to actually reflect in a second. But let's say you're on the Harpy Fractal. If you cast the Warden and you stand in its little bubble, you'll basically reflect, or your Warden will reflect, all those incoming projectiles that would otherwise knock you down on your butt. So standing in the Warden is how you negate the incoming projectiles, and it'll keep you safe from those. So in combination with feedback, your warden, and your curtain, you should be able to keep up reflection, not 100% of the time, but whenever those main attacks are coming in. In combination with another Mesmer or a Guardian that has Wall of Reflection, or even a Thief that has the skill to absorb projectiles through Smokescreen, you have a lot of utility that you can provide to your group with this build. Lastly, illusions. The reason I have the points in illusions is because you pretty much have to have illusionist celerity in any build, which is the 20% faster recharge on any illusion summoning skill. So anything that summons illusions, even your utilities like decoy or mirror images, those are both affected by this trait. And then I have compounding power, 3% more damage for each of your active illusions. So basically more damage, because you're a little bit lacking on the damage department, not a lot. Like basically you can hit up to like 1.5k with your sword. So you want to stay in melee range and be using your sword whenever you have full health, and if you ever go down, switch to your staff, get some chaos armor up, and use your reflex wisely. That covers the traits of the build. I'm going to be just showing you a short video that will demonstrate how to actually use the focus to reflect projectiles, because the temporal curtain can be a little tricky, and so I'm just going to go ahead and explain how it actually works on enemy mobs. Alright, so right now I'm being attacked by a young Reef Rider. I'm going to show you an example of where temporal curtain does not work very effectively. Now, if you see the height of it right here, it's not very tall, and as you can see, it's not even reflecting any of the projectiles because of that reason. You have to position yourself at least directly level with your target or slightly higher than your target. So I'll show you that when the cooldown for the focus wears off. So positioning is vital. Having blink is a good way to go ahead and sort of get around your target and cast the curtain. So right here, I'm going to position myself slightly above my target, cast the curtain, and now I'm reflecting the projectiles. It doesn't last very long, so you want to quickly follow it up with a warden, and you sort of see this blue bubble around it. That's protecting you from projectiles. Not only does it do its regular damage and cause bleeding, but the projectiles that are hitting the warden are getting reflected back to the target. That's protecting you and doing additional damage. So that's how the two focus skills work. Remember, positioning is key for whenever you use the focus. So that concludes how to use this build for fractals, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope it makes your runs more smooth, and thank you for watching this video. Have a good one.